Literally feel like an old granny. We are the right side around, and welcome to my bedroom. um, it's just one of those days, honestly. It's actually a beautiful day outside, and I got my moon time. I'm like full of cramps. I've got my hot pad and my dandy blend coffee, and this is what I'm doing. I'm just chilling in bed, looking like this all day today, and it's fantastic. I actually want to just start off with a little message about doing nothing. And sorry about my camera. All of my equipment is literally in a U-Haul box that will not be here for another 2 weeks. So this is what we're dealing with. But I wanted to start off with a message about doing nothing. I am a very A-type, very productive individual. And, I just wanted to relay this message because I think a lot of star seeds, because we feel like we have a mission on this planet, because we feel like we need to be doing more every single day. And it's because of that impulse, it's because of that need to have that mission. I just want to remind you all that it is extremely productive to do nothing. And I'm going to repeat that because we all need to hear that. It is extremely productive to do nothing. And the reason why is because you're healing, you're processing, you're integrating, you're balancing, and you're listening to yourself is really what it comes down to. Our human needs to shut down, and not just at night, not just when we're sleeping, during the day. You're making a conscious choice to chill in bed all day when it's a gorgeous day outside, when you could be doing a million things, and yet here I am watching Netflix all day, and I'm loving it, and burning some sage. It's been great. So I just wanted to relay that message to all of you because I know that you know how hard it is to do nothing. And it's so important. And it's probably the most productive thing you could ever do because you're recalibrating. All right, good message for the day. Let's go. Tons of great questions today. We're going to be talking about the 215 children found and like a lot more about that in Canada. We're going to talk about Jesus. We're going to talk about marijuana. We're going to talk about crossing over spirits. We're going to talk about fake alien invasions. I mean, what aren't we talking about today? And so many other things. We're going to talk about the moon as a satellite and like lots of stuff. Before we get there, I just want to say the Galactic Federation recording is available now. It was amazing. Like, it was just the whole morning. I guess it was 2 days ago now. But the whole day, the whole morning, I felt sick to my stomach. I got the jitters. I always feel that way right before really heavy contact. So it was really next level. That's one that I would listen to again myself, especially with Merlin coming through. I think it was just there was a lot of tips and a lot of techniques in there that I really need to apply myself. So check that out. Lauren will post that in the you know, in the comment section. And I also want to give a huge shout out to a brand new company that I am partnering with. As you guys know, I really don't take on sponsorship and I really don't promote companies often or even individuals often. The reason why is because I really have to believe in who they are, what they're doing. The vibration has to be right. And I don't just say yes to anything for money. And I'm very proud of not selling out, and I'm always going to be in a place where I'm not selling out, which is beautiful. But that being said, I have partnered with a huge company, a beautiful company. They're not actually huge at all, and they are pushing the boundary on what is considered normal. So I'm wearing actually my favorite T-shirt of theirs. I'll kind of show you guys. Let's see. Welcome to my bed. It says black, white, gay, straight, human. and their company is onlyhumanco.com, and their whole company is just called Only Human. So they push the boundaries because, I have the same ethos. No matter what you identify with, we're all human at the end of the day. And there are still many, many, many parts of those communities that believe that labels are really important. And this is a bunch of, human beings coming together saying, we're all human. Why can't we just agree that we're all human? And it doesn't matter who you love, doesn't matter what you identify with. Let's just come together as human. So I really, really love that. I do have a code, an affiliate code, if you guys are interested in some really dope shirts and other kind of unisex apparel. Actually, Nat's shirt that you guys comment on all the time that says human as fuck is from them as well. So the affiliate code is OH for Only Human, Elizabeth April for 15% off. So check out their store, onlyhumanco.com, and then use the coupon code OH Elizabeth April, and you'll get 15% off. And I literally I have so many of their clothes because I personally just love them so much. So I'm really starting a beautiful collaboration, and probably most of the clothes I'm going to wear from now on are going to be theirs. So super epic. Let's just dive right into it. As far as questions, yeah, that's it. That's hopefully you guys are doing well. I think that the eclipse energy was really freaking intense, and people are continuing to move. People are continuing to have blow-ups in their family and their personal life. People are continuing to just release and purge. And I'll tell you that last night my cramps were so bad. It literally felt like I was dying. It was so bad. And I just know that it was because I was releasing so many emotions. So I'm grateful for that every month, but it's a freaking pain in the lower abdomen, that's for sure. All right, first question here from a 12-month member, Emmy Starlight. Can you channel what the percentage of the population are in a higher state of consciousness or awake now? Fantastic. Let's take a look. For the whole population of the planet, let's just see where we're at as far as expansion and awakening and all of that. So 1 second. Okay. Okay. So the word here, I mean, it's kind of difficult to pinpoint a specific percentage of the entire population who is awake. The word that I got here is awakening, and a huge percentage of the people who are awakening are actually going through a giant ego death right now. And so I kind of asked for the clarification on what that looks like. And basically it's that loss of identity. It's the holy shit, religion is corrupt. Holy shit, finances are corrupt. Holy shit, my government is corrupt. Like, right now, like, say for example, like my idea of Canada, eh? And how great Canada is, and how proud I've been to be Canadian, to have that identity and that piece of me stripped away to say, holy shit, Canada is pretty effed up, to be honest. And actually, we're going to get into that in a little bit because we're going to talk about the residential schools and like just a lot of that. So yeah, so that's interesting. I am going to be doing a painting. Hopefully, I'm going to go this week to a little like art store that's like in our county, right? Because we're like in the middle of nowhere, and pick up a new canvas for a piece that I want to do on Canada. And yeah, it's going to be, it's going to be a pretty corrupt Canadian piece, and I'm excited to express that again. And I actually, I heard the saying the other day that creativity is a release of resistance, so that we find our place of resistance through creativity. And I get that because now that I have the release of my thoughts, feelings, understandings, channelings via YouTube, I'm not as creative, and it kind of pains me that I'm not producing as much art as I used to because I'm saying everything that I need to say. So I'm excited to get a little bit of a fire back in my soul for this like kind of corrupt Canadian piece. And then I'm very excited for the rest of my art supplies to come in this U-Haul box so I can get into, alien pieces and really, really cool awakening pieces. Okay, sorry, I'm so digressing. Going back to the percentage, there was a percentage, it came up right away, and the percentage is 26%. I don't know if that's just a very clear percentage or if that's something that I've mentioned before, because it feels very familiar, 26%. And so the clarification is 26% of the population on the planet is awakening. It doesn't mean that they're awakened yet, okay? There's really no stop to awakening either. If we were fully awakened, we probably wouldn't be incarnated and wouldn't have a body. But awakening, and a big percentage of those awakening on this planet are breaking down the disillusion of their identities. And that's how we got into Canada. All right, moving on. Great question, Emmy. Thank you for asking. Let's move over to Alicia Holt. Okay, I was just reading about a herd of 15 elephants on a trek across China. It seems to me like they are on some sort of mission. I would love it if you could try and tap into it and see if you can learn anything about what they're up to. Great question. A ton of you upvoted this question. I am so kind of removed from the news that I didn't even know this was a thing. I did look it up, and that's really all I got from news articles is like, China's in love with these 15 elephants that are making their way across China, and that's about it. That's pretty much what the news has to say. So let's tap in. Let's feel some elephant vibes, see what's going on. Yeah, one second. Mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm. Right. Hmm. This is really fascinating. Okay. Okay, so there's two things that come up here. Whenever I channel anything, there's always two sides to the coin. One is vibrational, which means what is the overall lesson that we can learn from these elephants or from the pain in my knee or from, my pet dying. And two is like what's actually happening at a physical level. So when I tap into or channel anything, it's always what's going on lesson wise vibrationally and what's going on physically. So I'll tell you right now that physically it feels like the electromagnetic frequency on the planet, let's call it the poles, are shifting. I truly believe that they are. I don't know where science is about the poles shifting. I believe that they've been actually suppressing the information that the poles are shifting for quite some time for fear of blank, I don't know what, or to just say it's actually global warming and like we should have different kinds of fears. I don't know. I don't know what their plan is about that. Anyway, um, the electromagnetic frequency is shifting. The electromagnetic frequency is shifting on the planet. And that's at a physical level. Why are these elephants kind of off their normal course? Is actually because of the pole shift. Very interesting. Now the lesson behind it is obviously just way more magical than the freaking poles are shifting and they're off course. So fascinating. These 15 elephants were predestined. They were contracted to make this trek, and it was already contracted for them to basically gain access to popularity, like gain access to being viewed. Because, I mean, there are animal families everywhere making treks that don't really align to their normal course that never get this kind of publicity, right? So it's very fascinating. Basically, what the information that I gained access to is everyone around the world, especially in China, but everyone around the world who is invested in these 15 elements making, or elements, elephants making this journey, it's so fascinating. They are connecting to the journey of these elephants within their own life. I know I can. Like, I'm literally on a journey in my life, and it's probably, you know, the main time in my life where I'm actually so freaking consciously aware of this journey that I'm on. Like, it's really just like, whoa, like, where are we going? Why are we here? What is our path? What is the mission? What is the end goal? And my ear just popped. All of the questions that people are asking about these elephants are actually a projection of all of the questions they are deeply asking within their soul. What path am I on? Where am I going? Why the fuck am I even here to begin with? It's amazing. Woohoo. Like, that's the awakening. Then I did ask the question, like, are these elephants consciously aware that they're like leading the charge on this big reflection, and they aren't in the moment because they're just elephants kind of following the line that they're supposed to be following energetically, but then also their souls did contract for this experience to happen at this time. So it's interesting, two sides of it. Okay, and then I said, well, what is the end destination? Like, what's going to happen here? Like, the world is viewing these elephants on their journey. Like, what's going to happen, basically? And it was so interesting. There's two timelines. So fascinating. Okay. Two timelines for the end destination of these elephants. One timeline is they reach like a pinnacle, they reach the end of the road, they reach where they're going. I don't know how else to say that. And it's like this huge kind of like, oh my goodness, like they were always just searching for new land or always just searching for new water. Okay. Or, okay, that, or it's actually a very devastating end conclusion. They end up in a giant city and they're like, where is the land that we were trying to get to? Where is our safe haven? Where is our safe place? I mean, now we're just in the middle of this city, and it could be quite sad that way, but it feels like the one direction is like an explosion of like, whoa, they actually did get to an end destination, and it's either beautiful or it's horrendous, to either have the reflection of like, oh my God, let's reconnect to nature that in the way that they are, or, oh my goodness, let's stop destroying nature the way that we are. Or they actually end up dying along their trek because they're so lost, so disoriented, so off the beaten path of where they know water is or food is or resources is that they die. Now it's very fascinating because when I take a look at this timeline of these elephants suffering and potentially dying, the Chinese government steps in because there's such this like miracle or this entertainment or whatever. The world is like, you know, hoping for them and praying for them, that I literally saw the Chinese government coming in. I don't know if it was in like military vehicles or even like helicopters coming down and bringing giant buckets of water for the elephants. Now, the interesting part about this, to prevent them from dying, right? But the information that I got, maybe it was from the collective or Mother Gaia, but the information that I got was, this is a prime fucking example of how the governments are stepping in to prevent death and destruction that they essentially created because of taking away natural habitats and enabling the truth. They're stopping the truth of how horrendous things are on the planet by trying to help these elephants survive. So on the one end, we're like, oh, thanks to the government for helping these elephants survive. And then on the other hand, we're like, yo, you're part of the problem. And because of you're giving them water, now the world doesn't have to see these elephants suffer. But that's the truth. That's the truth, and we need to know the truth right now. So it's just really, really interesting what's going to go down moving forward. I'm very fascinated. Yeah, cool. Great question, though. Thank you, Alicia. And thank you so much, Joy, for that beautiful super chat. Really lovely. All right, let's move on. Okay. Yvonne Jacobison, hopefully I'm saying that right. Thank you, Yvonne, for being a 12-month member. Hi, Elizabeth. I'm curious what you know about the vibration of marijuana. I feel as though I am closer to source when I am high, but I also feel an attachment to it, for I use it daily to alleviate stress. I'm curious to its vibration as medicine, but also its vibration as potentially addictive behavior. Thanks so much. I appreciate you. Awesome question. Thank you so much, Jacqueline. That's a really, really beautiful and generous super chat. Thank you. I'm going to tap into this. I know that I've tapped into marijuana many times before for clients because a lot of starseeds use it, and a lot of starseeds also have like a love-hate relationship with it as well. So I'm just going to tap into it these days to see what we can kind of gather. Especially when we're talking about a substance or an outlet, it's always subjective. There is never one answer for all of you. So I just want to kind of put a little disclaimer with that. But yeah, I want to look into the addictive behaviors of it, and is it positive? Is it negative? How should we be using it? Those kind of things. So one second. Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Yes. Oh, that makes so much sense. Okay. It's so funny because I probably tapped into this like maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I went right to the Galactic Federation when I asked. They told me verbatim the exact same thing 2 or 3 years ago as they just told me now. But I took it one step further and I'm very happy I did that. But yeah, it's funny. Like, it's great when the information is the same. It's just very validating for me. And then I remember what they told me before. So here's what they said. Marijuana is a technology. They said all plant medicine on this planet is a technology. They've told me this before. Magic mushrooms, marijuana, ayahuasca, San Pedro, I mean, you name it. Plant medicine is medicine, but it's technology as well. It's medicine from the sky. So, I mean, they reminded me of what they already told me before. So I said, "Oh yeah, of course." But then I said, Marijuana specifically is technology for what? What is it technology for? What is it allowing us to do? I mean, this phone is a technology device to help me connect with the world. What does marijuana do? What is it supposed to do as a technology?" And they answered me very, very clearly, and they said, it's a technology to help us connect to zero point frequency or connect to nature, which is always in zero point frequency. And they gave me an example of, I don't know, like they gave me an example of like sitting here in this bedroom, watching TV, watching Netflix, smoking weed, and then deciding, you know what? I want to be outside. I want to watch an anthill for 2 hours. I want to like hug a tree. Like, not that you're going to smoke weed and hug trees, but so it allows us to connect to zero point, which also, on the flip end of things, allows us to disconnect from the matrix. Now, here's part of the problem. Part of the problem is when we disconnect from the matrix and we are very connected to the matrix and we are the identity of a lawyer or a mother or a seamstress or a homemaker, the more you are connected to your identifiers in this matrix, therefore, the more connected to the matrix you are. Therefore, if you utilize marijuana as a technology to disconnect from the matrix, what is that going to do to you? That is going to make you feel like you are freaking dying. So, some people are unable, and that goes to show for other plant medicines as well, and it's just a varying degree of like connection, disconnection from the matrix and connection to other dimensions and otherworldly things. The more connected you are to the matrix, the scarier it's going to be to disconnect. Now, I will tell you right now, without any drugs, without any, medicines or what have you, when I was doing past life regression for a living, it was the same thing. I was putting people into hypnotic trance-like states in a safe way to disconnect them from their identifiers, to disconnect them from the matrix so that they can connect to all that is. Now, say for example, if you were to use marijuana as a technology to disconnect from the matrix, if you're like, I just want to disconnect, all of a sudden you gain access to a deeper connection within yourself as long as you're willing and ready to disconnect. And then all of a sudden you're connecting with food, you're connecting with smells, you're connecting with even good movies, music on a different wavelength, on a different level. Now, the problem that came up here is individuals, starseeds, all right, who are kind of fed up with this matrix, who are kind of never really aligned to identifiers. If starseeds start utilizing marijuana as a technology to disconnect, guess what's going to happen? It's going to feel so good to disconnect from the illusionary projection of this matrix reality to reconnect with something at a higher vibration that feels good. That we're always going to want to go back there. We're always going to want to go back there. And that's a problem. And there's the addictive tendencies, right? It's now an attachment to disconnecting from this reality and floating and connecting to other realities. As everything, it has to be a balance, okay? It's got to be a balance. And as everything, not every food, not every drink, and not every plant medicine is going to be for everyone, all right? So just being aware of that. And that's it. That great information, though. Hopefully that validates some things for some of you regarding plant medicine as a whole and the use of marijuana. Yeah, and that's it. So it's really up to you to discern, as always. All right. I love how this water bottle pretty much matches my t-shirt. Okay. All right, next up, rejuvenate healing. How do souls get stuck? Do they choose to get stuck? When you helped cross Indigenous peoples over with your dad, did they know they were stuck? Was there not a guide or an angel to help them cross over initially? Is this the same as a ghost? Okay, fantastic. Let's talk about crossing over. Let's talk about taking exit points. I'll kind of give you a little rundown. On average, this is just from what I've channeled in the past, and I've channeled a lot of spirits. I continue to do mediumship, actually. Well, I don't. Don't book a session with me because I'm not doing sessions. But yeah, I do for friends and family members. I do continue to tap into the other side, tap in with loved ones, and it's really beautiful, and I really enjoy doing that. So, from what I understand, every incarnated being, every plant, every animal, every human being, every interdimensional being, all has multiple exit points. I think that this is fascinating. It means that I would say on average there's about 4 or 5 different exit points. Maybe it was a really bad car crash when you were 26. That was a potential exit point. Then you have most people have exit points at the end of their life. Like I'll tap into maybe your father or your grandmother, and I'll see like 3 solid exit points from 82 to 86 to 93. Okay, and those are the exit points that I see. Typically, most of the exit points are at the end of their life. There do tend to be maybe 1 or 2 earlier on, and those are just different timelines. Okay, so that's that. When we when we do pass away, when we leave our body and we take an exit point, we have a decision to make. Do we cross over to the other side, or do we stay in a liminal position? Now, crossing over to the other side, it is almost identical to everything, if you've ever read about, what is it called? Near-death experiences. It's exactly like that. I've never had a quote-unquote near-death experience. I just see spirits crossing over, and I know exactly what that whole scene looks like. Big white light portal opens up. There's a long hallway usually. Sometimes their loved ones actually walk down the hallway and meet them at the portal between worlds, and the loved ones come through and they help the spirit cross over. Usually when I'm talking to a spirit, they only see my astral body and they always call me an angel. Oh, you're an angel. Or some spirits I've worked with are very, very superstitious and they're like, who are you? Like, I don't trust you. I don't believe in you. Like, I don't know what you're doing here. Like, they can be scared of me, even though I'm just this glowing white light aura body. And so when I find that a spirit is very scared of me, I will say, are you willing to feel me? Like, are you willing to accept a hug? And usually they say yes. Or even if they say no, I usually try and just give them a hug. And upon wrapping my astral body around them, I open my heart chakra and I literally give them the absolute most unconditional love from source frequency, from the universe, and they instantly, all of them, even the darkest spirits I have worked with, like the freaking poltergeist energies I have worked with, they instantly melt. Or some spirits just need me to listen to their story. They need anyone to listen to their story, but I'm able to be that kind of intermediary between worlds. So I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. When a spirit crosses over, right, they go through the white light portal, they're really back at source frequency. There's not really a heaven, but there is a place that spirits go in between lifetimes, in between incarnations. Every spirit from every dimension, from every incarnation, goes to the same place. A plant that dies, a tree that dies, your animals that pass away, all go to the same place in the afterlife. Mostly children and animals cross over right away. The only reason why a spirit would get stuck in the fourth dimension plane, which means that they're not really here and they're not really over there, they're kind of stuck in this weird place in between, in this transient place. The only reason why they would get stuck, it's not a fearful I mean, it's kind of scary being there, but it's, well, we've all been through it, you know, so it's not hell. It's definitely not hell, but it could be perceived as hell. All right, but there's no flames, there's no fire, there's none of that. Um, and so the only reason why is because there is unresolved trauma, unresolved emotion that they did not deal with here on the planet, or it was a very sudden crossing, a very sudden passing, and they actually still believe that they're alive. That tends to happen often. Now, for the souls who do not believe that they died, they believe that they're still alive, they will, especially if they got stuck and attached to a house, or they passed away in a house, or they passed away in a place that they loved, they will actually wander around the house doing all the things that they used to do. They'll be in the kitchen making food, they'll be in the bedroom turning on the lights, they'll be taking a shower. I mean, it's pretty wild. So the question here from Rejuvenate Healing is, when my dad and I crossed over these indigenous tribes, did they know that they had passed? And to be honest, they did not. Especially the one at Bear Lodge, I believe, like the beautiful kind of pyramid type mountains that we went to is so just special. In South Dakota, was it Wyoming? Okay, and they were fighting. It was like the Colonel Custer and like that whole like kind of the Europeans versus the indigenous nations. They were in this perpetual battle together. They still didn't believe that they had passed away or died, and they were just fighting each other the whole time, over and over and over again. I've seen other indigenous chiefs going through the same loops over and over again. It was really wild, and I've seen that. And then I open up a giant white light portal, and they all kind of cross over and they cross through. And like I said, sometimes I just need to listen to their stories. They're like, I was an alcoholic. I was a really bad person. I never told my daughter I loved her. And I tell them that you can say that. You can tell that to your child now. You can do that in the afterlife, but you can't do that here while you're stuck. So typically, I'll just say one more thing about this because I could probably have, many videos on the afterlife and spirits and what happens. But the other thing too is when a spirit gets stuck, it's usually like I always see them in a very, very dark place. One time I was in this castle and I got intuitively called to sit up in the turret room at the top of this castle, and I closed my eyes and I tapped in, and all of a sudden the room was filled with hundreds of spirits who had all died on those grounds. And I tried to cross over. I probably crossed over like 8 or 9 of them, but I mean, I barely touched how many were there. And the one, he was missing his head. It was really interesting. But I asked one of the spirits, I said, can you show me what it looks like to be a ghost? Can you show me what it looks like to be a spirit? And he did. And it was so wild. It was like I could see the room in front of me as a ghost, but everything had this like black, almost smoky outline, almost like the way that we see spirits and ghosts if we do catch a glimpse of them. They see the whole room. They even see us like that. Time does not exist the same for a spirit. It could be generations that go by and a spirit just sees it wisping. It's like everything just wisps around. And then the second a spirit or a ghost interacts with a human being who can see them, either a shaman or a channeler or a medium, it's like the wisping and the fast forwarding of time, everything just comes to a halt. Everything just comes to a standstill. And this is why children are typically inundated with ghosts and spirits, because they can see the other realm. The other realm recognizes that they can see them, and all of a sudden time stands still in a way for these ghosts and spirits. They feel relieved that someone can actually interact with them, but sometimes a fear-based interaction because the child does not know how to cross over the spirits. I have taught children how to cross over spirits, and it's amazing because I will get emails from the parents to say, yeah, so I was in the kitchen the other day and, good old George came into the room again, and this is the sons channeling this energy of this George character, and the son said, George, you are loved and it's okay to go into the light. And they never heard from George again, so it literally just warms my heart. And that's why I want to open a school for gifted children. That's my dream. A couple of things. My dream is I want to start a nonprofit organization helping individuals escape from cults. I want to give them financial resources. I want to give them community resources. I want to give them housing, food resources, familial resources. I want to help Indigenous youth who are stuck on the reserves, stuck in bad habit patterns. I want to give them all of the same resources. And I want to start a school for gifted children because I feel like individuals like me, luckily I came from a good household and my parents were supportive, but I was never taught to work with my abilities at that age. I was scared of them. I didn't have that support network. And not only do I want to help children, step into their abilities, but I want to help train and teach the parents how to help the children, right? Because it's got to be systemic. So anyway, those are my goals. Those are my dreams. We've got the property that's semi off-grid now, and we can really start building that. So that's what I want to do. I'm hoping by 40, I have all of those kind of institutions established. But those are my biggest passions: cults, the Indigenous, and children. Really, it literally makes me cry just thinking about. Okay, I'm just, whew, yeah, it's just very, very intense. And I think too, like helping children with sexual abuse. I think that that's going to be a huge, probably a whole nonprofit in itself as well. And that's kind of part of the cult energy as well, because I mean, we're all living in one giant cult, which is this matrix reality, right? Okay, moving on. Talon. Okay. Hi EA, can you channel anything about the supposed planned fake alien invasion that's supposed to happen? How can we prepare others? Also, can you channel anything about why people are becoming magnetic lately? I don't know about the magnetic stuff. Maybe that'll be a question for later. But I do want to tap into the fake alien invasion. And believe it or not, when I did my Galactic Federation meeting, I think 2 days ago now, they brought that up. They were the ones that brought up the fake alien invasion. And one of the questions from you guys to the Galactic Federation is, how do we tell the difference between a fake alien invasion and a real, like not a real invasion, but a real disclosure? And we had a beautiful Lyran being come through named Garu, who basically explained how to tell the difference between even fake light and real light coming from teachers and gurus and whatever. So I'll leave that there, but I will say that this is a great question, and it was answered in depth, and it really resonated with me. And that's in the Galactic Federation recording. So check that out. Yeah, it was such an epic GFL event. Yeah, like I said, I felt nauseous and jittery the entire day before that event, just because I just felt the power before it. So yeah, great question though, Talon. You're definitely on track with everyone else asking the same questions. All right. Okay, Megan Crow. Hi, EA. My son asks all. Oh, that was weird. My son asks all the best questions. In his 12-year-old wisdom, he asked, "What really is deja vu?" Since he was about 5 or 6, he's continuously expressed that he sometimes knows when things are going to happen before they do. He recognizes this is different than deja vu. But my question is deja vu a memory from another timeline merging into this timeline that we are currently experiencing, or something else completely? Would love your insight. Awesome. Some of my most profound experiences were through deja vus, like right at the beginning. Like part of my huge awakening was like having these constant deja vu moments. Oh, I don't know if it keeps pausing every time that there's like a little Google pop-up. Anyway, hopefully not. Um, anyway, yeah, so I have gotten into this concept of deja vu. I do have like a minute and a half video on deja vu, and it's pretty epic, so check it out. It's under the playlist Moment of Truth videos. And yeah, so here's my understanding of deja vu. Deja vu is tapping in to a future timeline moment before it happens. Typically, when we tap into that precognition and we tap into that future moment, we are unaware of it. So typically, if I see a moment of me sitting with a bird out in my backyard, it'll be during the nighttime. So it'll actually be during dream time or during sleep. And in that way, when I wake up, I'm like, oh, I just had a dream about watching a bird. Then I step through the dream and I'm like, oh my God, here I am watching the bird. Okay. Deja vu is literally an experience of simultaneous time. You are precognitive. You are psychic. You can tell the future. If you've ever had a deja vu moment in your entire life, you can tell the future. How cool is that? Now, what I mean, I could write a whole book on deja vu, but what I discovered was I could ask for deja vu moments to happen with my conscious awareness. Whenever I told the person what I saw in that timeline moment, in the future moment, it would never happen. Anytime I expressed what happened in the future, what happened in the future didn't happen. I would divert the timeline. So we can change the future, especially when talking about the future. So it's really trippy. But yeah, it's pretty much just stepping into a future moment or stepping into a timeline that we could step through in the future. And how cool is it when we see a deja vu moment in the past, like 15 years ago, and we step into it in the future, and then it kind of trips you up to say, is my whole lifetime contracted? Because here I am in this exact moment, and everything that happened to get me to this exact moment had to happen to get here. It's just wild. But yeah, check out my other videos on deja vu because I do explain more and talk more about it. All right, next question. Addie Practico. Hi, EA. Congrats on the new house and the land. Thank you so much. I'm curious about the moon. If it's a satellite, why does it affect our emotions so much? Astrologically, the moon symbolizes emotions and it can affect us so deeply. But if it's a satellite, why does it have such a strong effect on our emotions? Is there a secret crystal inside vibrating and sending vibrational energy down that plays with our emotions? Great question. Okay, so a little recap. If you guys don't already know my beliefs or my understandings of the moon, I astral traveled, remote viewed the moon years ago, back in 2011. I had my first Galactic Federation meeting inside the moon. I haven't been back there since, believe it or not. I don't know why. And so the moon is a satellite. It is hollow. It's not a planet, and it's definitely not a rock. What I channeled before is the moon is a satellite that was originally placed around Earth's orbit in a very divinely orchestrated way, right? Because we have eclipses and things that are very not natural, and like 1 in a billion chance that that's actually possible, for it to align in the exact size and blah blah blah. Anyway, and so it was placed here around Earth's orbit a very, very, very long time ago, like a very long time ago, and it was bouncing signals from Saturn off of the moon to actually help indoctrinate us, control us, and basically take the power over the matrix grid. Okay, it was a very, very evil thing at first. It was a very corrupt thing. The moon was very just wrong. I don't know what elements of the moon these days are still aligned to the original intention. Okay, I don't know if the moon controlling the electromagnetism of the planet is still aligned to whatever, but it's almost like the patterns on the planet that are being dictated and controlled by the moon are not natural. They're not naturally occurring. They are actually created. Okay, it's, take it or leave it. So then a little while ago, okay, so I would say probably a couple thousand years ago, the moon was taken over by the Galactic Federation. I don't know if it was even a couple thousand years ago. It could have been a couple hundred years ago, but it was recent in relativity to when the moon actually started, got put here. And so now I believe the moon is taken back over by the Galactic Federation, and they are bouncing, from my belief, positive signals off of the moon to planet Earth to help us ascend and awaken. What do emotions have to do with all of that? I have zero idea. Let me ask them. So, 1 second. Okay, interesting. Okay. So, of course, who steps in but Timothy? I was going to go right to the Galactic Federation Palladian Security Council. Those are my homies. That's usually where I go. But Timothy stepped in right away. And it's funny because every time I see Timothy, he's got this giant binder. Like, it always feels like he's got like textbooks or like, something. Just like this giant piece of content of information. He's always got something going on. Anyway, so he's like, I can answer that, Elizabeth. And he said he's studied the moon as well and the effects on it. He said that the moon does dictate electromagnetism, and he said that our bodies also, with our consciousness and our soul, have electromagnetism within our bodies and our systems. So he said when the moon comes around, especially the phases of the moon and the full moon, but he was referencing the full moon. He said, when the moon is full, we get, the word that he used is our electromagnetism gets activated. He said, when you get jittery? So, like, sometimes for me, like, I'm a Cancer, I'm very sensitive to the moon's energies. And I get very, sometimes it literally feels like I'm going through hypothermia. Not often, not every single moon cycle, but like maybe once every couple of months, I will be shaking all day. My teeth will be chattering. I'll be very, very cold, and I feel very out of body. And it's actually, he's saying that it's an electromagnetic activation. And he said for some people, they cannot handle the electromagnetic activation because he said that the moon, the full moon, brings up all of the old energy in us to basically help us purge it out. So if you have been holding some stuff back, you're going to go a little bit crazy during the full moon because all of that stuff is vibrating out of you. If you are pretty clear that month and you haven't been holding stuff back, then you will be vibrating into a new frequency in a positive way. So you're either vibrating to purge out the old stuff to liberate, or you've already purged it out and you're just vibrating to liberate. So it's just, it will affect everyone differently, but he said that that's going to be the main cause and effect in relation to our emotions. I think Timothy studies our emotions often because he's just very curious and fascinated by emotions. as a whole. So I think that's interesting. All right, let's get into some heavy stuff. Misha Michaela, hi EA, do you have any information on the 215 children found buried under the residential school in Kamloops? It's been weighing really heavily on my mind and a lot of other people I know who live in BC. Okay, so I just had my cousin over last night. We had a great conversation about this. She is Indigenous, like pretty much full Indigenous. Beautiful soul. She's doing absolutely mind-blowing, incredible things for the Indigenous nations here in Canada. She explained her perspective on everything. I'm not going to relay it because it's not that it doesn't align to my perspective, but I don't know enough about it, okay? I'm going to relay what I channeled the other night. The other night I couldn't get to sleep. I think it was the eclipse energy. My mind was just rolling, and usually when that happens, I go over and I chat with the Galactic Federation because I don't know if it's boredom or just because I feel activated and they calm me down. So I went over there and I asked them about Canada. I said, guys, what is going on with Canada? They told me a bunch of information. I'll relay this. They said that Canada right now, Canada has always been corrupt, always. But Canada has had this forward facing, oh, I'm so sorry about that, kind of energy. And I get it. I really do love Canadians as people. But in the government sphere, Canada has been projecting one thing and definitely doing some other things on the back end. For quite some time. And I know that Canada was a huge part of genocide. It was a huge part of residential schools. For those of you who do not know what a residential school is, I'll just kind of relay it. I may not be completely correct on this, so please take it with a grain of salt and do your own research. Basically, residential schools went all the way into the late 90s. The last residential school to close in Canada was 1997 in Nova Scotia. Okay, so they went on for quite some time. Basically, what the Canadian government wanted to do was bring in Indigenous children and conform them to the European ways of Canada. So they stripped away their languages, they stripped away their culture, they stripped away their beliefs, they stripped away their knowledge, and on top of stripping away and forcing these poor Indigenous children to conform, they also actually experimented on these children, like really messed up things, like let's experiment malnutrition. So let's take these 10 children and not feed them for weeks on end, and let's just see how they do. I mean, really, 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 really messed up things. And so, of course, many, many children passed away, and they would just be buried, underneath these schools. Now, what's happening right now, what I believe, what I channeled from the GFL just the other night was all of the corruption within Canada is getting exposed at this time so that the healing can begin. We need to realize that there were hundreds of residential schools all over Canada, and there's probably tens of thousands of child bodies that are buried under these schools. I have always been so passionate about, the Indigenous, and I wish that I had some of that blood within me, even though my cousin is straight Indigenous and we grew up in that kind of energy, as a child. She's my cousin through marriage and not blood. And so I just feel so strongly that we need to support them. I mean, yes, we're talking about BLM. Yes, we're talking about, Asian Lives Matter. Yeah, we're talking about all of that, but come on. Like, let's truly talk about, the original peoples that were on all of the continents all over the world. If we can't talk about that, if we can't talk about those genocides, if we can't talk about the ancient knowledge and wisdom that was lost and the blood that was shed, then we're not talking about the real issues, right? Oh, gets me all riled up. I just feel like these individuals now have so many issues with poverty, and they are 10 times more likely to have suicidal tendencies, and they're more likely to get into drugs and alcoholism, and it's just this systemic problem that we're not bringing a solution to, and they have the answers. I don't care if they're practicing their old beliefs. I don't care if they're tuned in anymore. Their bloodlines hold the answers to the information of interdimensional beings. They're connected, they're innately connected, and they have been disconnected, and they have been wrongfully abused every single step of the way. So I just get so passionate. But yeah, that's what's happening. It's awful, it's disgusting, but we need to also realize that this world has always been that corrupt. We're now actually seeing the corruption so that we can change it. That's really what's going on right now. We're seeing the corruption so that we can change it. And I'm grateful for that. And I hope that more and more and more things get exposed, like the Fauci thing. You know, let's expose the people who are at the top to realize that it is all just bullshit. Let's wake up the mainstream population to say, guys, stop believing in right or left because it's all the same. Right? So it's happening, but it's got to happen, and it's going to be painful for everyone. It's painful to wake up. It feels like we're dying to wake up. All right. Ugh. So many emotions. It is my moon time though too, so. All right, let's talk about Jesus. And this is our last question. All right, Gemma Hendricks. Hi, Elizabeth. My question is about Jesus and his many reincarnations after the event that we've been taught. At the moment, it is said that his soul is a woman in India, and it was also said in 2021 he will be reincarnating into another lifetime somewhere in America. Could you possibly tap into his energy and check that he has already done this, and has Mary Magdalene been able to reincarnate with him? Much love and appreciation to you. Okay, I am going to tap into this because I'm curious. I do have information or pieces of information that I've received over the past number of years tapping into Jesus. I know that the question that I asked before, okay, years ago, like probably back in 2014, was, okay, Jesus, you're supposed to reincarnate, says the Bible. What does that mean, right? Because we've got hundreds of thousands of people all over the world waiting for the rebirth of Jesus, waiting for him to come back. Then we have at the same time a lot of people, thousands probably of people, men and women, saying that they are the reincarnation, they are the rebirth of Jesus, that they are Jesus. And these can be very spiritual, very loving gurus and teachers, or they can be homeless people, you know, who are on meth or what have you. So it's so fascinating. The information that I've received is twofold, and then I'll tap in because I am curious. Is he going to reincarnate? Okay. So one half of the information that I've already tapped into was Jesus was never supposed to reincarnate. He is an ascended master, which means that he is never actually supposed to take another physical form. Once again, I'm going to repeat that. What I've channeled before could change, right? Information always changes. He could be like, oh my God, humans really need help. I'm going to go back down there. But being an ascended master, most of them live out the rest of their existence as an individual entity separate from source but very close to source because they exist in the 12th dimensional frequency as an etheric being. They do not reincarnate into an individual physical body anymore, but they do connect with human beings and other beings across the universe to help us out in an etheric, downloading, activating, whatever kind of way. All right? So that's one part of the information, that the resurrection of Jesus Christ was always supposed to be within the awakening. It wasn't actually him coming down from the sky saying, hello, I am the Son of God and I am here again as this bearded white man. No, from what I've channeled, it was never supposed to be that way. It was always supposed to be Christ consciousness is coming back. That is the resurrection of Jesus, is that we all step into Jesus energy. We can all create miracles in our own life, and we are once again reconnected with God. And how beautiful is that? All right, so that's my belief right now, but hey, could be different, could change. We'll see, we'll tap into that. The other part of this that I have channeled very recently, as a matter of fact, this is what my second book is all about. It's really quite wild. I'm excited to dive back into it. I'm about 20,000 words, 25,000 words into it. So it's about something called past life or lifetime imprinting. Dolores Cannon is really the only other one who talks about past life imprinting. Recently, I had a huge download about this, and I'm writing a whole book about this. So basically, this is the theory, the concept that before starseeds, before other old souls come to this planet, they choose to live vicariously through certain lifetimes in order to gain access to certain lessons. And a lot of those lifetimes that we tend to imprint are of ones as Michael Jackson, Madonna, Jesus, Buddha, I mean, you name it. So then you get these people who are very well meaning, right? Very open soul, saying, I'm the reincarnation of Jesus because I have these flashbacks of being Jesus and being on the cross. And for the longest time, I was so concerned with why am I now channeling and giving past life regressions to people who have had multiple lifetimes as multiple like famous individuals in human history. This doesn't make sense to me. Then I understood that past life imprinting is a thing, and it blew the whole reincarnation aspect, out of the water. Anyway, and so I believe that a lot of the people who believe that they are Jesus, the reincarnation of Jesus, very well meaning, but I also believe that they aren't actually the soul of Jesus. They have experienced an aspect of that lifetime, and I can't blame them for not knowing the difference between the actual life that they lived and the life that they saw that they lived. And I'm going to leave it there. Now I'm going to tap in. I'm going to see if there's anything we need to know about basically Jesus and is he reincarnated? Does he ever want to be reincarnated? What does that look like? Yeah, let's just take a look here. 1 second. Yes, exactly. Okay, beautiful. So this message comes straight from Jesus. Yeah, I love him. Like, he's such a beautiful soul. Before I get there, I'm going to do a little bit of a hey, hey. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you give this video a thumbs up. Make sure that you share this video on your channels and your networks. And that really helps to share the information and get other people awakening as well and understanding that they're not alone in this battle that we're all in right now at this time. Awesome. So Jesus came through right away. He is the most unconditionally loving, soft, but also powerful being I've ever been in the presence of, if that makes sense. Like, I strive in so many ways to be more like Jesus. Like, it even sounds weird coming out of my mouth because I sound like a freaking like religious person. But I do believe in his soul. I do. And I believe in Buddha's soul and all of that. So here's what he said. He literally said these words verbatim. I couldn't have said it better myself, Elizabeth. And he was talking about the reference not to the imprinting, but the reference to him reincarnating was always supposed to be. And he actually showed me this beautiful image of like, it looks like a golden, how do I even describe it? I don't even know. It almost looks like a golden teapot, okay, but without the spout. It's just this like golden circle thing, almost like a golden egg, but it has a little door to it. I don't know what it's supposed to be. And he shows me this image of this golden egg with a door, like a little mini door to it. And he puts the golden egg in my chest, and he's representing me as everyone in humanity. There is no difference. And he said, humanity needs to realize that they have God within them, that they have source frequency, Christ consciousness within them, and they need to open the door. He said, the reason why I'm not coming back and I have chosen this for such a long time is because it is not about me. It's no longer about one person anymore. And he said that this is the vibration that we're ascending into, is that it's not about looking up to one being anymore. It's about looking within and opening that door within yourself. It's almost like this like little teapot egg with the door reminds me of like that's an embodiment of source frequency, and we need to be opening that source ourselves. And that's what he said. And then he said, I feel like there was something else that he said. One second. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty much what he said, and that's the image that he showed. And then I asked him another question, and I said, "What do you like? What's your opinion on the other people in the world who are claiming to be you?" And I'm sure this woman in India who's claiming to be the reincarnation of Jesus, I'm sure that she is very kind-hearted and very loving, and like I feel that vibration from her. Um, so I asked Jesus, I said, "Hey, what do you believe in these other people who claim to be you? Um, what do you think, right?" And he said, hold on, what did he say? Oh, yeah. He said that they're on their own journey and that they're on their own path. And he said that everyone who follows them are on their own journey and they're on their own path. And he doesn't really have, he doesn't really have an opinion other than everyone's on their own path. He said the word, not distraction. He said, oh yeah, disempowered. He said it could potentially be disempowering to have individuals to say, I am this figure, and it could be disempowering for the population. And that's the whole point and the whole reason why he's not going to come back here in a physical form, to have that disempowerment. And I'm sure him, just like Khan, comes back in small little ways, maybe, like a little bug to teach us a lesson, or a deer to teach us, a lesson, or what have you, but not to be, once again, the reincarnation of Jesus. We all have to go back to opening that door within our own hearts, which is beautiful. So, yeah, amazing. Thank you, Jesus, for coming through and being so kind and loving as always. Yeah, cool. I'm glad that we got that clarified. I'm glad that I got that clarified too. I was curious if that had changed, but it hadn't. Oh, so good. I love these Q&As so much. Thank you all for being here. Check out onlyhumanco.com for these epic t-shirts that are all about just being human. And you can type in OH Elizabeth April, Only Human Elizabeth April, OH Elizabeth April for 15% off your entire Only Human order. And other than that, check out the Galactic Federation link as well, because there were so many great answers. I felt the activation during that. That's why I felt, jittery the whole time. Obviously, the solar eclipse helped as well, raise the vibration. So, I mean, the audio is a little bit terrible. The lighting is a little bit terrible because I don't have any of my equipment. But the message just shone through every single question that came through and every single being that came through. So thank you all so much for being here on my journey, on your own journey. Thank you for being here and supporting collective awakening, collective consciousness, and of course, unity consciousness, because that's really what it all comes down to, is coming together, loving one another unconditionally, and making this world a better place by making sure that you are aligned to your own highest vibration. Yeah. Until next time, bye everyone.